Bugs crashing your pack's party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
Rise up! Rise up!
This is the Rise Up See Red podcast, all about the Arizona Cardinals and the NFL, featuring insider and outsider perspectives. Enjoy the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Now here are your hosts, Jess Root and Seth Cox.
Hello, Arizona Cardinals fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the Rise Up See Red podcast, the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. I'm your host, Jess Root from CardsWire.com, USA Today's NFL wire site that covers Arizona Cardinals. In episode 703, and our third show of the week, 3 shows in 2 days, pretty much, as the Cardinals and the Seahawks play Thursday night. So we, as the Cardinals and the Seahawks, had to truncate their week and pack things into a short amount of time. So has the show. Seth and I did our review of the Cardinals-49ers game. Seth and I did our preview picks and predictions for this game. And this show is our opponent preview. We've got friend of the show, Kole Musgrove, managing editor over at Seahawks Wire, my sister site, the USA Today NFL wire site that covers the Seattle Seahawks as the Seahawks come to town. Kole, welcome back to the show. I hope I'll be able to get you on, later on in the year. And basically, you're as close to a regular now as you can be.
Well, I am honored about that. Thank you for having me, Jess. It's always a pleasure, as always. To the listeners, I apologize if you hear the sounds of I-5 in the background. I am currently on my way to watch a little bit of Mariners baseball, watch them maybe clinch the division for the first time in 24 years. So the vibes in the city of Seattle, are very good right now. I'll say that.
And vibes are kind of what I want to talk as we preview this week 4 matchup on Thursday Night Football. As it's important to note, Seattle has had the Cardinals number in a series that was pretty much even at 500, or even number of wins. It was right about 500 for each team. The Seahawks have won the last 7 matchups. And have done so convincingly. Now, part of that is we wonder if it's Geno Smith. Geno Smith went 6-0 against the Cardinals. Jonathan Gannon has not beaten the Seahawks in 2 seasons as head coach. But as we were saying off the air, and I said on the previous show, is that this game features 2 teams. Like if you hadn't followed them, if you're on the outside, you look at these 2 teams, they're 2-1. They've played two opponents, 2 common opponents in the Saints and the 49ers. Their only loss has come in a low scoring affair, basically last minute end of game victory against the San Francisco 49ers. And yet, if you're paying attention to these teams, especially here, the vibes tell a very different story, and the vibes are all about positivity and hope with the Seattle Seahawks, especially with the way that they've been scoring points the last couple of weeks, while the Cardinals and their slow and ploddy offense so far this season, it feels like the sky is falling and that we're on the verge of the season falling apart. Never mind, we're 2-0, just like the Seahawks, with the only loss coming to the same team. It's just that feels very two different directions. How does it feel for Seahawks fans right now?
Well, it's always kind of I'll go back to baseball, for example. You have a 3-game series. It always feels better to win the last game of the series, no matter what. You can go, you win the first 2, you lose the third one. Somehow that feels worse than if you lose the first 2 and you win the third one. That's just kind of how our our monkey brains are. We always like to go based off what we've seen last. Seattle, like I mentioned earlier, baseball, vibes are great. The Seahawks, they started off with that low-scoring, disappointing loss to the 49ers, but since then they've had back-to-back convincing wins. We'll go 31-17 over the Steelers in Pittsburgh, and then just an absolute pasting of the Saints on Sunday, 44-13, one of the largest margins of victory in the last decade for Seahawks football. The Seahawks, I'll say this, the 12th man is very excited for Thursday night. Obviously, the recent history between the Cardinals and the Seahawks being decidedly in Seattle's favor is factoring in here, the excitement. But yeah, it is certainly good vibes only in the Emerald City.
So in terms of statistical things, they are number 2 in points allowed, only given up 15.7 a game. They're 5th in scoring at 29.3 points per game. Granted, they came you got 44 against the Saints team that was pretty scrappy for the first 2 weeks of the year. They played the Cardinals tough. They played the 49ers tough. And I think they finally, what a start to the year for them. They have to play Cardinals, 49ers, Seahawks. And next week they play the Bills, or this weekend they play the Bills. That Saints team has no hope.
Someone in the NFL scheduling department hates New Orleans. That's the only explanation.
That is crazy. That's crazy talk. But I will say this: I know that they beat the Steelers by 14 points. There was some flukiness to that, and wasn't it a closer game than it ended up being because of that crazy kickoff that the Steelers just didn't pick up. And
yeah, that was
Helwani grabs in the end zone for a touchdown. I've never heard of anything like that in my entire life.
Yeah, the game was certainly a lot closer than the final score would indicate. The Seahawks just really ran away with it, or the Steelers melted down. Choose your narrative. It was 14-14. Aaron Rodgers threw an interception basically at the goal line in the end zone. A very athletic interception from Darion Kendrick, who I'm sure didn't he end the Cardinal season last year for the Rams? Similar situation. And then Seahawks got a field goal. And then, of course, there was the fluky special teams touchdown made it 24-14. At that point, Steelers offense just did not have the firepower to keep up with Seattle's defense. So there certainly was some flukiness. But after that turning point, the Seahawks have found that extra gas pedal. They have just been cruising ever since.
They have. Now, in terms of their offense, what is going right? Because the run game, as I'm looking at the run game, has not been particularly efficient.
No, it has not.
That's the one thing you're like, 3.3 yards per carry. That's not ideal. So has it been the Sam Darnold show so far? Or better said, has it been, I guess it's been the Jackson Smith and Jigma show so far.
So far, it has definitely been the Sam Darnold to JSN show. These two have a strong connection. JSN has just been an absolute unstoppable force in the passing attack. It was something ridiculous. Week one, Sam Darnold only had 150 passing yards, and 124 of them were to JSN. Just something just astronomical like that. So that is certainly the number one thing going well. Jackson Smith-Njigba has certainly proven himself to being a bona fide number one receiver. That was certainly one of the question marks going into the season. He had a breakout year last year. Was some of that defenses focusing on DK Metcalf? Through 3 weeks, plenty of time left in the season, but through 3 weeks, it looks like we have a definitive answer. Yes, he is a bona fide number one receiver. Other things going well, quite frankly, Sam Darnold is looking exactly as advertised. Is he lighting up the stat sheet the way he is in Minnesota? No, but the offense isn't really requiring him to do that. He needs to be like a point guard. just distributing the ball to the playmakers, which he's doing with JSN, and Cooper Kupp had a very nice game as well in week 2. He is playing cold, efficient football. He's doing everything the offense asks. He's not going for the hero ball play. He's not, trying to make the highlight reel, win MVP. He's just doing exactly what's asked, and it's been pretty refreshing to see. As far as the ground game goes, that has certainly been a disappointment. I'll quote Mike McDonald, 3.6 yards per carry, nowhere close to good enough. And I think everyone in the Northwest would agree. But it's not from lack of trying. I mean, the Seahawks, gave their ball carriers 33 total touches against the Saints. It's not, not getting the job done, only 87 yards, I believe, on the ground. But I think overall, over the course of the season, they're going to get that figured out. I would much rather have a team that still heavily commits to the run and struggles to get it done rather than what we had last year, which was, oh, well, we're not really running. We're just going to quickly abandon it by the second quarter and make it a most one-dimensional offense you've ever seen.
And that takes us to the defensive side of the ball, where I'm noticing that it would appear that after a very quiet rookie year, Byron Murphy looks good.
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about what Murphy's been doing so far, because the numbers say 2.5 sacks, 5 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for loss, and more importantly, that defensive interior is being very good. You've got 5 quarterback hits from Murphy, from Leonard Williams, from Jaron Reed. But it looks like Murphy's made a really big second-year jump.
Murphy was my pick at the beginning of the season or early in the season when, we had that exercise with all the other NFL Wire editors, give the one candidate for a breakout season. His was the one I picked. Last year, he was better than the stats would have indicated. And that's always kind of the case for defensive tackles, right? What they do and their impact on the game is rarely measurable by just sack numbers or tackle numbers. It's how well are you creating pressure? How well are you just eating up blocks so somebody else can make a play? And last year, I thought Murphy played a lot better than the numbers might indicate, but it always felt like he was just a split second behind. Not that he's getting blown away, but like he was half second away from a sack, half second away from a really big tackle for a loss. And it just kind of felt like, okay, this is a young man getting his footing in the NFL. Another year, under his belt, another year under Mike McDonald's system, more coaching, understanding what this league is and what offensive linemen are like in this league. I figured he was going to have a breakout year. And so far through 3 games, that seems to be the case. He is making up that gap for that split second that would have been, quarterback got away versus him getting a sack or half a sack, or him making, a tremendous impact on the game. And it has been an absolute delight to see. As a former defensive lineman myself, I have a particular affinity for defensive tackles and what they can do to the game. So it feels real good watching the Seahawks have a dominant defensive front once again.
And they've continued, at least to start the year, with after last year's, the first half of the season where the run defense was very questionable. The run defense continues to be very good since Ernest Jones was inserted in the lineup. That continues to be the case. Have there been any other standouts through the first 3 games that are worth mentioning?
Well, I can't go any further than mentioning rookie wide receiver Torrey Horton. Fell all the way to the Seahawks in the 5th round. Had some health issues kind of coming out of college. Right now, it looks like those are behind him. He's had 3 touchdowns in the last 2 games. One of those was a punt return touchdown, making him only the 3rd Seahawk ever to have a punt return and wide receiving touchdown in the same game. He set a franchise record for a 95-yard punt return, longest in franchise history, and was the first Seahawk since rookie Tyler Lockett in week 1 of the 2015 season against the then St. Louis Rams to have a punt return touchdown. He was the darling of training camp, and it's very evident why he has become an absolute X factor these last 2 weeks.
Coming up next on the Res Red podcast, the best of Cardinals talk on the web. Let's move on and talk about this game, keys, matchups, things that matter in this game. That's coming up next on Rise Up See Red.
Bugs crashing your PAX party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed, lab-proven to work fast, and proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
We're back on the Rise of Seahawks podcast. Best of Cardinals talk on the web, talking to Kole Musgrove from the Seahawks Wire. Let's now go to this matchup. Kind of things that if the Seahawks are going to win this game, how do you see that playing out? What are sort of their keys to beating the Cardinals?
Keys to beating the Cardinals is, one, don't let Kyler Murray run all over you. That's the matchup I'm most excited to see, is how well this defensive line goes against a quarterback who is a little more squirrely, a little more nimble, quick on his feet. Because while the defensive line has looked outstanding, they faced Brock Purdy, 75-year-old Aaron Rodgers, and Spencer Rattler, who's 0-9 now as a starter. So it hasn't exactly been Hall of Fame caliber, aside from Aaron Rodgers, what he's done in the past, not what he is today.
This version of Aaron Rodgers is not Hall of Fame Aaron
This
Rodgers.
version of Aaron Rodgers should have retired 3 years ago. But yes, they're not going against current Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks. And while, I don't know if that necessarily applies to Kyler Murray, he's certainly a much more dynamic athlete than anything the Seahawks have faced at this point in the season. So I'm certainly very curious to see how they will, actually handle someone who can run away from sacks, someone who can get out of sticky situations. So I think big key to the game is they got to make life miserable for number one. They have to just generate pressure, force him off his rhythm, not allow him to make plays on his feet. Number two, they have to get the ground game going. The Cardinals defense has been really good so far this season. I think that's been certainly a little bit of a surprise for me. I guess it shouldn't be, given that Jonathan Gannon's a more defensive-minded coach, but it's probably going to be a stiffer competition that they face. Well, certainly from the Saints. They got to get the ground game going. Otherwise, it just gets too one-dimensional. You can be one-dimensional against the New Orleans Saints, but in a division game on prime time, Sam's got to get some help on the ground. So those would certainly be my two big keys to the game for the Seahawks, how they're going to get away with the wins.
And I look at for the Cardinals, I don't know how, because the run game has been a struggle for the Cardinals so far. Now, the volume numbers don't look as bad because Kyler had a 30-yard run a couple of games ago. Trey Benson has ripped off a 52-yard and a 29-yarder, but they've been so inefficient with the run game, and that's what their offense is built upon. It's not the home run ball. They've been getting home run balls, but it is the strength of their consistent 3 to 4 yards of staying ahead of the sticks. They need to do that, but I don't know if that's going to be something we can count on against Seattle's defense. Although I think I have a theory with part of the reason why the Cardinals have struggled in the run game, and it is because of new roles. Now, the run blocking with Isaiah Adams instead of Will Hernandez in there, the run blocking is not as good. James Conner at age 30, starting the season, wasn't quite as good. And Trey Benson was playing in a role that he hadn't yet, which is the third down role. He took Amari DeMarcado's spot. That changes this week. And Trey Benson is going to become the focal point of the offense, and Amari DeMarcado will go back into a very familiar role. That said, I think first and foremost, like my first key is not turn the ball over, because that's what's killed the Cardinals in the last several games against Seattle. Seattle's taken the ball away 5 times in three games, but their offense has also matched that. Every single game, the defense. So for week 1, they forced 2 turnovers. They turned the ball over twice. Week 2 had 2 turnovers, forced 2 turnovers. Last week took away the ball once, gave it away once, and so. The Cardinals need to turn that into their favor, either force more turnovers than they give up or not turn the ball over at all. And I think in the first matchup that I'm looking at is the one that absolutely wrecked the Cardinals last year, and that's Leonard Williams against the defensive. And honestly, it's going to be the entire defensive interior, but Leonard Williams single-handedly ruined that game coming out of the bye for the Cardinals.
Well, I've got bad news because it certainly looks like Leonard Williams is picking up exactly where he left off last season. He is just an absolute force of nature on the Seahawks defensive line. And it, as a Seahawks fan myself, it's been pretty awesome to watch.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Do I like that from my side? No, but it is exciting when you see it happen. And also, like, the Cardinals have to push the ball down the field more. Their passing offense has been dink and dunk and dink and dunk and dink and dunk, and they're doing very little to push the ball down the field for a number of reasons. They've gotten drops. Marvin, like, they need to take more Trey, more Marv. Honestly, more Trey and more Marv in the passing game. They've been distributing the ball extremely well. 9 guys caught passes in week 1, 8 guys caught passes in week 2, 9 guys caught passes in week 3. But the offense, the passing game goes through Marv and Trey. So they've got to get the ball to Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride, and they got to protect Kyler. And I think another matchup that's going to be really fun to watch is simply Jackson Smith and Jigba against the Cardinals cornerbacks. Right now, they're banged up. Will Johnson will not likely play. He didn't practice at all this week. He's on week 2 of his groin injury. Max Melton, and then the kind of Jalen Thompson moving down from safety to play in the nickel. So you'll probably see Jalen Thompson on Cooper Kupp a little, which that probably favors the Seahawks. And then a rotation of rookie Denzel Burke and Keitrell Clark at that other cornerback position. So, but first and foremost, the Cardinals cornerbacks against Jackson Smith and Jigba. They've given up big game. Like Ricky Pearsall went for over 100 yards. Ted McMillan went for over 100 yards. And so, but I will say this about the Cardinals and their pass defense is that they don't give up. They make teams work. So while they've been good against the run, they're not giving up things down the field. They're good at not giving up touchdowns. The problem is with last week, and I hated this philosophy. When Mac Jones only needed a field goal at the end, they were playing defense like they were protecting the end zone. And that bit them in the butt. And I wish that they, especially because Mac Jones was playing on a bad knee. We know how Mac Jones is with pressure. Put pressure on him, blitz him, make him make a decision. And guess what? Like they did the drive before, they picked him off. But yeah, I kind of see that. Any other particular matchups that you see as being critical or that you really want to see?
Well, certainly as a Marvin Harrison fantasy owner, I would like to see overall a little more production thrown his way than what we've been seeing the last couple of weeks. Maybe this isn't the week for it, but overall. But that being said, this may be another tough one for him on Thursday because Devin Witherspoon is going to be playing. He is back after his 2-week absence. Julian Love, who missed last week against the Saints, or I guess I should say Sunday, missed week 3 Sunday game against the Saints. He's back in action. Nicky Manwari, probably not going to be back, but Seattle's secondary is getting a little healthier, so that's going to make it a little more tricky, certainly for the Arizona Cardinals. As the Cardinals have questions in their secondary, it seems like the Seahawks are trending once again in the opposite direction, a little healthier. So that
vibes are high. It's once again good vibes versus meh vibes, and so. But I will say this. Let's bring it back. Coming up next on the Rise of Sierra podcast, the best of our Cardinals talk and love. Let's move on and bring in the picks and predictions for this game. Let's come to next on Rise of Sierra.
Bugs crashing your PAX party? Whether they've got paws or sneakers, your pack deserves a home that's protected from pests. That's where Wondercide comes in. Plant-powered protection made with steam-distilled natural essential oils that actually work. It kills and repels fleas, ticks, mosquitoes, and ants without questionable ingredients or overpowering smells. Safe to use around kids and pets when used as directed. Lab-proven to work fast. And proudly made in the USA. We offer sprays for pets, people, homes, and yards. Plus, spot-on treatments, collars, and even shampoos. Whatever your pack needs, we've got it covered. Founded by a pet parent looking for a better way to protect her dog Luna, Wondercide's now protected over 21 million lives and counting. You might have even seen us on Shark Tank. Go to Wondercide.com and use code WONDER20 for 20% off your first order. That's WONDER20 at Wondercide.com. Wondercide. Protect your pack with plant-powered Wondercide today.
We're back on the Rise of Seahawks podcast, best our Cardinals talk on the web. Final segment of this Cardinals-Seahawks opponent preview for Week 4 with Kole Musgrove from the Seahawks Wire. Cardinals-Seahawks games are weird, man, and they have a history of being even more weird when they're in prime time. That said, the Cardinals seem to only know how to play ugly right now, and I think, honestly, if they're going to compete in this game, they're going to have to play an ugly game. There is a fear in the back of my mind that Seattle could boat race them. There is that fear, but I also believe in the resiliency of this team. And even as shorthanded as they might be down 2 left tackles. They might be on an undrafted rookie left tackle as based on a couple of roster moves, because Paris Johnson and Kelvin Beachum are both questionable for this game. We'll see what goes on with that. Zay Jones is out, so we're going to see Greg Dortch. This game, I think the running game is more successful than what the Seahawks have been used to doing. And not saying that they're going to dominate the run game, but I think we're going to see a slow, ploddy game on both sides of the ball that's going to come down to a final possession.
I think so too. Right now, last week, the Seahawks were up 21-0 with still 11 minutes left in the first quarter. That's not happening tomorrow or Thursday night or whenever.
I seriously hope not.
Or whenever
if the Cardinals go up 21-0 that early, I would be very happy. I just don't think that's going to happen in this game at all.
No, these teams, they know each other too well. Now, the Seahawks seem to have more success in Arizona than they do in Seattle against the Cardinals. Every time they play in Seattle, it's always a weird 16-6 or 19-9, just absolute slugfest. But then when they play in Arizona, the Seahawks seem to always be humming. I don't know why that is. Maybe they just like the dome. I couldn't tell you. I'm not predicting certainly anything like that. I'm thinking this is going to be another close game as well. I'm saying 23-17 Seahawks. I think the edge being, 1, Seattle's defensive line. 2, if the Cardinals can't get the run game going, it's going to make them one-dimensional awfully quick. 3, Seahawks secondary's gotten a lot healthier. Cardinals aren't exactly lighting up the world on offense anyways right now. And while I think the Arizona defense is going to give the Seahawks offense some fits early on, especially if they start blitzing and bringing the house, I still think the Seahawks offense right now is just operating on a very high level, or at least certainly higher than I was thinking they'd be by this point. I think they're going to make enough plays late and escape with a narrow win.
And I've got this one, I have no reason to predict it, but while I can see this going either way, I'm picking the Cardinals to win 20-19, like seriously ugly end of game. Either someone makes a field goal or misses a field goal, or what I'm hoping is they have a lead and they stop Seattle, or even a more classic is that Seattle scores a last second touchdown and decides to go for 2 and they get stuffed. Right?
I would not be surprised if Mike McDonald did attempt. He's very aggressive on 4th down, and certainly very aggressive when it comes to situations where I maybe wish he'd be a little more conservative. But I totally understand where you're going with that. I think it's going to be a very good game overall. I think with both teams are not only are, common opponents, whatnot, they both are in kind of a similar situation right now, right? They're both 2-1. However, their one loss is already to an NFC West opponent. Both teams risk falling to 0-2 in the division to start the game 2-2. That's a precarious situation. I mean, it's only week 4. You don't want to be
in that situation, right?
Yeah, it's only week 4, but you go to 0-2 in the division. To have a winning record, you have to win the next 4 straight games, and neither team has faced the Rams yet. I think that there's going to be desperation high on each team, especially with Seattle. Next week in week 5, they're home against the undefeated Buccaneers. So I'm not sure who the Cardinals have next, but both teams are
Tennessee. We have a cupcake.
All right.
We've got
we
get a mini bye against Tennessee.
Okay, so you get a mini bye after your mini bye. All right. Well, then in that case, I'm going to give the desperation edge to Seattle. They have a much tougher opponent than Tennessee coming in week 5. So I think they need the win a little more than the Cardinals.
It makes sense. Any standout? So we like to kind of talk props. Now you don't have to talk about props, but I'll ask you some lines that you like. This one seems like a lock. Over or under 81.5 receiving yards from Jackson Smith and Jigba?
Oh, over. Hammer the over with that. He's only had one game this year where he had under 100 yards, and it was last week with 96. And the Seahawks were up 38-6, so they didn't even need to run the ball. They didn't need to pass the ball for 2 full quarters. So over 81.5 yards, yeah, take the over on that.
Over or under 1.5 touchdown passes for either Sam Darnold or Kyler Murray?
So either quarterback has more than 1 touchdown pass?
Correct. Because they both have really significant. Both are real positive odds. It doesn't the likelihood people don't see it. The bookmakers don't see it. So they got plus 140 odds for Sam Darnold over 1.5. Kyler plus 145 odds over 1.5 touchdown passes. Do you think either one gets 2 touchdown passes?
Yes, I do. I'm going to take the over on that. Sam's had 2 touchdown passes in the last 2 weeks. Offense is doing well. As for Kyler Murray, I don't think the Cardinals are going to have much of a ground attack against the Seahawks defense. So the only way they're scoring is if he's airing it out.
Okay. Interceptions. Does Sam Darnold throw an interception?
I think he does. Not that he has been careless. Not that he's been careless at all with the football. I mean, he had 2 against the Steelers.
But he can be.
He can be. We haven't seen the old Sam so far, knock on wood. However, given, this defense may be one of the better ones they face all season, I wouldn't be surprised if, they blitz him, he chucks it up, and, Buda Baker comes down with one. I would not be surprised if he throws a pick on Thursday.
All right. How many sacks for Leonard Williams? Does he get a sack?
Yes, I think I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say 2 sacks. He was a nightmare in really both games against the Cardinals last year. And he's playing at an insanely high level this season. I think Kyler Murray is going to be having nightmares of number 99 this week.
Yeah, sounds good. All right. That will wrap up this edition of the Rise Up Seahawks podcast episode of Cardinals Talk. This has been our Cardinals-Seahawks opponent preview with Kole Musgrove of Seahawks Wire. You can catch his work, as always, over at the Seahawks Wire. Kole, thank you for coming on. I know you've got a baseball game coming up. Woo! That's
all right,
stuff, man.
Well, hey,
have fun.
I will say this. Thank you for Josh Naylor. Wonderful.
All right.
Wonderful addition.
Well, and yeah, we'd say Eugenio, except that he's been hot garbage since he went over there.
That's more of the vibes pick. That's more of a vibes pick. It's good to have him back, regardless. So, anyways, thank you, my friend. I'm always available. Appreciate being on the show. Love being quote unquote regular.
All right. Thank you, Kole. That'll wrap up this show. We won't be back till next week. So we've got a long weekend. Seth and I'll be back to talk about this game next week. Thanks for listening. As always, we'll be back again soon.
Thanks for listening to the latest edition of the Rise Up, See Red podcast. Listen to previous episodes and subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher Radio, Audioboom, or many other podcast platforms so shows are delivered directly to your mobile device. Please give the show a 5-star rating and always support the sponsors who support the show. We'll be back soon for the best hour of Cardinals talk on the web. Rise up, Red Sea, be Red, Sea Red, and of course, Rise up, Sea Red.